Thank you for listening to The Lawyer's Daughter. This is Jen Carroll, and this podcast does not have any video. I know I'm on YouTube, but that doesn't matter. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast here. Let's go get started. Hey, my friends, rabbit. It's September 1st, day 66, and I cannot believe it. Here we go, September. Let's get going. This is a free and easy podcast for you today. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court rulings that have shaped our democracy. Because they really have. They play a massive role in shaping our democracy. And some of these rulings have advanced justice and equality, but others have sparked huge debates. And it is not the Supreme Court's job to rule in a way that matches popular support. It is their job to not create new law and to judge laws based on how they apply to the Constitution and how well they fit and if they're supported by other laws. And we've kind of gotten away from that. But let's go first and talk about the victories for civil rights that have come at the hands of a Supreme Court. Like we ended school segregation. Quick test. Do you remember yesterday what case that is? Brown versus the Board of Ed. Brown. And you know what? Use that word Brown. Brown means Brown could go to education. Brown was allowing kids to go to school. It's in 1954, people. That is not that long ago. 70 years ago. Look, I could do math right on the fly. 70 years ago this passed. That is not, my mom was older than that. This is not that long ago. It's before I was born, but it's still not that long ago. Brown versus the Board of Education addressed the fact that many schools for years were segregated, meaning white children and black children had to go to separate schools. This was supposed to be separate but equal. Yeah, put those air quotes around it. But in reality, the schools for the black children were often much worse. Let's think about that. Why do you think that is? Oh, yeah. White people don't support black schools because that's what was happening, especially in the South in 1954. In Brown versus the Board of Education, the Supreme Court decided the segregation was unconstitutional, which wasn't allowed under the U.S. Constitution. And this ruling was a huge victory in the civil rights movement, helping to end segregation and push for equality in America. And Justice Earl Warren wrote the majority. There was no dissenting opinion in that ruling. It was unanimous. Those were the days when we could all see something was wrong and we'd all agree. The next one, another good victory for civil rights, was protecting women's privacy rights. Wait for this one, because this just happened. Wait, that was 51 years ago. Only 51 years, people had only lasted 50 years. Roe v. Wade, 1973. Women's rights finally took a step forward when the Supreme Court's decision in Roe v. Wade recognized that a woman has a constitutional right to privacy. I'm going to start crying right now. Because women do have a constitutional right to privacy. And it includes the right to make decisions over her own body. This is the law they threw out, guys. They overruled this law. This is what Roe v. Wade said. We have the right to make decisions about our own bodies and whether or not to have an abortion or a D&C because we're having a miscarriage or D&C because the baby died. Or I don't know, IVF because you want to have a baby or IUI because you want to have a baby. Or sperm donors. I mean, it's never going to end, right? Because we don't get to have a say anymore about the decisions about our own body. This ruling has been one of the most talked about decisions in American history, continuing to influence discussions on reproductive rights every day. And Judge Harry Blackmun was the majority opinion on that, with Judge William Rehnquist on the dissent. That one it makes me sick. Okay, we're going to talk about when it was overturned. It's coming up. Equal marriage rights for all. Obergefell versus Hodges. This is just 2015, guys. It's not even been 10 years yet. Not even 10 years. It doesn't feel that new, but I know it's that new. And I know because people are so happy, and it was so long that people couldn't get married. It was unbelievable to me as a kid growing up. I could never understand why gay people couldn't get married. I just didn't understand it. And anybody who made it more complicated than gay people getting married, screw you. Sorry, but screw you. It's not about people marrying animals. It's not about animals marrying animals. It's not about animals marrying Godzilla. Is Godzilla an animal? I think he's a reptile. It's not about reptiles and mammal interracial marriage. Nope, none of those interspecies marriage. Nope, none of those things. None of that things. It's just gay people getting married. And frankly, if we're not careful, it's also people of different nationalities getting married, ethnic races getting married. So there you go. It ensured this Obergefell ensured marriage equality was recognized in the Constitution, and it marked a step towards equality, showing how the court can reflect and support in society's evolving. You think this is easy to say? Society's evolving values. In this case, it was Justice Anthony Kennedy who wrote the opinion, and Chief Roberts, Scalia, Thomas, and Alito dissented, and they have threatened to bring it back. Absolutely, positively, they want to overturn Obergefell, which I don't even know. I don't understand why people always got to come for love, but okay. So the other thing that's happened is there have been Supreme Court decisions that strengthen government power, economic and federal power. It may or may not be something you want, but in this case, supporting workers' rights, that West Coast hotel one in 1937 was huge because the Supreme Court ruled that states could set minimum wage laws, which meant workers could be paid a fair amount for their work. That, at the most fundamental level, there's no way a free market's going to pay people fairly. Not by the definition of a free market. Free market with ethics will pay people fairly, but a free market without anything else, it just won't. There's no incentive to pay people a fair wage unless you're a higher order reasoning boss who actually believes in retention, customer satisfaction, employee attitude, lots of other values that people who will pay money get from their workers, including trustworthiness. So there you go. This goes back to if you turn people feral, they're going to act feral. So let's pay them some money, shall we? And then another one that was huge, and it was about federal power, was upholding the health care for millions. This was the National Federation of Independent Business. This is not what you think. This is about Affordable Care Act, but this is someone trying to take it down. So let me explain. In 2012, the Supreme Court faced a crucial decision regarding the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare. In this case, the court upheld the law's most important part, the individual mandate, which required everyone to have health insurance or pay a penalty. A lot of people squawked about this, but the deal is this is how insurance works. You can't be part of it if you aren't paying into the pool. Insurance is based upon pooling people together. And so the more people in your pool usually helps drive down the rate of insurance because you have a lot of healthy people and sick people. If you were just insuring an office of 65-year-olds, you might have more issues. You probably have, I'm going to guess, you probably have less sexually transmitted diseases. If you're in the villages, I'm going to hold out that may not be true. I've just heard it. It's only rumors. I cannot confirm or deny. It's only rumors that down at the villages they're having a good time. But yes, so you need to pay in to be able to participate. So they held up that mandate, and I don't even know what's happened to all of this. When we get into the issues, I think we should go look at what's happening with healthcare, because the part I do remember is that a number of states, I hate using the word red states, let's say conservative states, where governors are Republicans, have not made affordable care available to their constituents. That, to me, it's a different issue, and I think there's people suing for that, but that's where we get into some crazy stuff that happens in the implementation of some of these rules. But at least they upheld this mandate, which is what allowed the Affordable Care Act to work, because we're all in the same insurance pool. I say we because I have to have Affordable Care Act. That's my insurance. Been my insurance for maybe as long as it's been around now. I got it from the first minute, and I think I didn't have it when I was actually a permanent employee at Bromium, and I did still carry it at V Armor because they fired me so fast. So I didn't even get to use corporate insurance. There you go. Thank God for the Affordable Care Act. So now let's talk about, we have quite a few cases that have stirred up some controversy. Let's talk about them, shall we? Because we've had controversy and backlash. And it's interesting when the court decides it's going to get involved in something. That's a decision they make. And it can make a big difference. I mean, they can decide to get in it as long as someone brings something before them. And that's what Trump's trying to do right now. He wants to bring every time he sneezes, he's ready to have the Supreme Court decide if that was a legitimate sneeze or not. So the first one that was weird for all of us Americans who'd been watching the Supreme Court, was Bush v. Gore in 2000. It was weird because the court decided a presidential election. The court's ruling stopped the recount of votes in Florida, which led to George Bush winning the presidency. This was the hanging chads, people. And if you're younger and you hear that and you're like, wait, a bunch of chads decide to hang themselves? Oh, if only it were that delightful. No, no, no. This is way worse. These are those tiny scraps of paper that when you punch a ballot may or may not detach all the way. And if it doesn't detach all the way, that is hanging. And do you know what that little tiny, tiny piece of paper that pops out when you vote is called? That's right. It's called a CHAD. CHAD. So if that CHAD was hanging, it impacted whether they counted the vote. I don't even remember anymore, but I think they were singing a hanging CHAD counts, as it should. It's punched. Or is it? That's literally what happened. But this spawned two interesting things. They decided they had to stop counting the votes. I got to tell you, that's a crazy ass decision to stop counting votes. I just cannot believe there's a time when we'd ever stop counting votes. But it was getting pretty messy. The decision was highly debated, and many people argued the court had stepped into the political arena, raising questions about the balance of power in American democracy. Interestingly enough, this didn't have a majority opinion. It was written per curiam. And per curiam, which I did as a sidebar at the bottom, just so you get, for those nerds out there who was like, what is per curiam? Per curiam is this thing that's used by the court that means it was decided by the court. Talk about one of those circular references. And a per curiam opinion is a ruling issued as a whole rather than by an individual justice. Here's why they do it. They do it to either communicate unanimity. So in this case, we had Bush v. Gore. It's the presidential election. They're deciding the election. They don't want to look like they had anybody else messing with them. So it's unanimity, expediency if they want to go faster, to avoid attribution, huge, so nobody can get the blame, right? For clarity and simplicity. And so they did it in 2000 because they really felt it was incredibly sensitive, and they didn't want it to look even more controversial by showing us who was pro and who was against. So I kind of get that. It just, unfortunately, when that happens, it always makes us feel yucky because it's not really clean, right? That's not so clean. And interestingly enough, it's a per curiam majority, but we had 1, 2, 3, 4 people in dissent. Justice John Paul Stevens, Justice David Souter, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Justice Stephen Breyer all dissented. So it wasn't even. Not in any way was it even. It wasn't where 100% in agreement like it was unanimous like it was in, where's my unanimous? That's right. Like my ending school segregation with Brown versus the Board of Ed in 1954. It wasn't unanimous. The five, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the 5 that wanted it said per curiam, and the 4 that didn't did dissent. So the Bush's Gore was not the cleanest thing in the world, but it happened and it moved on, and here we are, right? Then we have one that just still chaps me, Citizens United. This was only in 2010, but man, has it changed politics a lot. It's one of the ugliest things that ever happened. In Citizens United, it was versus the Federal Elections Commission brought the case, and Citizens United was fighting the Federal Elections Commission. Okay, so Citizens United was the group that was trying to tell the Federal Election Commission it could do what it wanted. The Supreme Court agreed. The ruling allows corporations and unions to spend unlimited money on political campaigns if they don't directly coordinate with the candidates. I'm just going to say, well, no, just dial Roger Stone. You don't need to directly coordinate. Just you have operatives like Bannon and Stone. I'm sure we have operatives on the Democratic side that somehow connect these dots. We tend to be a little more high-minded and ethical, but I'm sure people will talk. It's so funny that if I were to say in cybersecurity, this is what I'm going to do. The I would give you a rule that says you can do it, and the only way the cybersecurity could break is if humans were involved, which, by the way, is like 90% of the way cybersecurity breaks. So the only way this breaks is if the PACs, the money, doesn't talk to the campaign. That's just not going to happen. That's not how humans work. Anyway, it passed. Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote the majority opinion, and Justice John Paul Stevens was the dissent. And here we are. It's super hard now for normal citizens' voices to be heard above the wealthy and the PACs and the super PACs and all of them. We just lost. We lost hard in that one. Rolling back abortion rights happened, as we all know, painfully in 2022, and that's Dobbs. And when they talk about Dobbs, Dobbs is what reversed Roe. Dobbs versus the Jackson Women's Health Organization. And in this groundbreaking and controversial ruling, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And here's what they said. The case upheld a Mississippi law banning abortions after 15 weeks and effectively returned the power to regulate abortion to the states. The decision has led to widespread debate and protests as it removed federal protection for abortion rights and allowed states to impose their restrictions. And of course, Justice Samuel Alito, a man who does not possess a uterus, was the one who wrote the majority opinion. Is it okay? I'm probably, the feds are probably going to arrest me if I go. I just want to go punch him in the throat. That's all. That's all? I'm so tired of men deciding what happens to us. I'm so tired of this. This is why I'm a chronic single woman. Oh, I had enough by the time I was a child. I just couldn't do it anymore. Okay. We have a couple more that are important for our future, and these are all really recent rulings. In 2022, the Supreme Court limited environmental protections, West Virginia versus the EPA. And in this decision, they said the EPA's authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions from power plants require explicit congressional authorization. The decision raised concerns about the federal government's ability to combat climate change as it restricted the EPA's role in enforcing environmental protections. The Environmental Protection Agency has restrictions on how it enforces environmental protections. Just need everybody to know that the ice is almost all melted everywhere, and the water is going to start to rise, and everything's going to get cross-contaminated. We're going to have problems. These storms already are cross-contaminating things. Just look at how the winds, the heat, and the water and the patterns are changing. But I digress. I like Brent. It's not Brent Terhune, is it? He's like, I digest. Okay, so I digest. I don't. I'll come back here. Then we have gun rights. 2022, guys. The New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. The law required people to show proper cause to get a permit to carry a concealed handgun. It's New York's law. Why on SVU people just don't get to carry handguns everywhere in New York? New York's a city of people that have a lot of opinions about a lot of things. I just don't think a lot of concealed guns are great. But the decision was that they wanted to expand gun rights by making it easier for people to carry guns in public, even as concerns about gun violence continue to grow in our society. The ruling sparked debates over the balance of individual rights and public safety. I don't know. I cannot understand why the police support the NRA. I will never understand it, why they're pro-gun, because every one of these cops' life is in so much more danger because there are guns everywhere. And it turns every engagement into some GD military response because everyone's afraid of getting shot. And nobody's trying to just figure out how to help us all live better, how to calm down, how to make a better decision. That's not happening. Nope. We're just running around with guns. So that happened in 2022. You can have your guns. More access to guns is what that rule was about. religious expression in public schools. Kennedy versus Bremerton School District in 2022. This is hilarious because it's backfiring so massively. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of a high school football coach who prayed on the field after games. The court decided the coach's prayer was protected in the First Amendment, highlighting the ongoing tension between a religion and the separation of church and state. Now, the way this is going sideways is that I guess everybody thought it would be a Christian coach praying, but there's way more than Christian coaches out there, people. There's coaches that believe in all kinds of things. And so now prayer on the field at school games can be anything that it wants to be because the Supreme Court said prayer of any religion, there is no, the religious expression is okay on the football field. Didn't say what kind of religion. So y'all got to just be careful what you ask for. Some of these things can really boomerang back to hit you in the head. And then finally, my favorite. Well, no, Roe, the Dodd's decision is really the one that I want to hurt somebody, but this one's pretty bad too. Presidential immunity in criminal prosecution. Trump versus the United States, 2024. The Supreme Court ruled on whether former President Trump could be criminally prosecuted for actions taken during his presidency, specifically related to his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. The court held while the president enjoys absolute immunity for actions within the scope of his duties, it doesn't extend to unofficial acts. Hey, it shouldn't extend for his official actions. Presidents don't get to commit crimes as part of their job. That's what they have counsel for. That's what they have advisors for. That's why they make very good decisions and think about the things that they do and what it might mean. And we have Biden in office right now, and he could go ahead and enjoy this immunity for actions within the scope of his official duties. And I don't think anybody ever imagined, what if this wasn't Trump? But that's the problem with this jackassery rulings, because they go to favor one person, but when you apply them across the board and ask them to survive in the long term, they become ridiculous. All right, so there we go. We've seen this recent court, and that's what's got me really distressed. This recent court is making decisions about making women's health issues, healthcare. Women don't have the right over their bodies. The EPA can't regulate and protect our environment. The guns can be on anybody at any time. We don't really need to regulate guns whatsoever. Religion and the state can go, screw that. It doesn't matter. We can look for ways to slowly break down this idea, which was in the Constitution, literally, that you don't mingle church and state for many reasons. And then finally, that a president can crime while in office as long as what he's doing isn't included as outside duties. So you can crime. None of those are constitutional. I can sit just right here on my smarty pants booty and tell you those do not align with what the forefathers intended. Which is why these rulings are so essential, that they protect our democracy, except when they don't. Except when they are causing people harm, and when they aren't advancing civil rights, and when they aren't supporting our government and our federalism and our interstate commerce and our workers and our health care and our life and our liberty. We are a mess. And so tomorrow we're going to talk about how this mess has gotten us to a point where we're looking at ways to fix the Supreme Court. And that's what we'll get into tomorrow. Sheldon Whitehouse is doing a ton on this, and I just love him. Dick Durbin too. And I just love Sheldon because he's just decided this is his freaking cause célèbre. He is going to beat it to death until he gets some change. And if we can get the Democrats all the way down ballot, if we can get the presidential branch, the legislative branch, the executive branch, the legislative branch to get in line, we can start to do something about these terrible, terrible rulings. We can make laws to fix them. And that's, I think, what's going to happen. So tomorrow, let's talk about what we're going to do to fix the Supreme Court. I can't wait to talk to you. Go out and make it a great Sunday. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Make sure you subscribe and rate, and I'll be back with another episode really soon.